If you were a shrub, would you want to grow here? I mean, imagine this. Busy street right next to a public parking lot where people are walking, cars are driving by, trucks are plowing, salt is flying. It's not exactly the most hospitable place for a shrub to grow, but yet I want something that's going to be super easy to care for because I'm not going to be here to coddle it, and I want it to perform really well. Would you believe I think I found it? Let me show you. And believe it or not, that shrub is a rose. Yep, a rose. You guys are probably familiar with knockout roses, which are, I think, the roses that sort of changed the whole face of what a rose could be. In other words, a landscape rose. And now we have a knockout rose that's sort of fun size, and it's Petite Knockout Rose. And they are partnering with me on this video to provide and plant some super tough, hardy plants for a very inhospitable area. So Petite Knockout has all of the great characteristics of a regular knockout rose in terms of disease resistance, hardiness, all of those things. It's hardy, zones 4 to 10. It gets only about 18 inches tall and wide, so it's significantly smaller than many of the knockouts. And it comes in what they're describing as a fire engine red color, but much smaller flowers on it. It sort of looks like a miniature rose, but it's super hardy and super tough. The other thing to note about these is that they have really nice, clean, shiny foliage, dark green, small, tiny foliage. So that foliage looks really good too, and that's really important with a rose that you expect to look good all year. So in addition to being hardy and disease resistant, these are also really easy care roses, and that's important to me down here because I'm at work. Other than watering them, I don't have a lot of time to tend to plants down here. So you might remember that last year I planted a hydrangea in this area, but it needs a little something more. And so these Petite Knockouts are actually, I think, the perfect thing. They will not only keep people from cutting the corner and walking through an area where they shouldn't be walking, but also they will be beautiful as an entrance to the front door of the office, and honestly just off the parking lot, because it really sort of looks like it's kind of part of the public planting here. Now I actually have 6 of these to put in this area, but I actually planted 5 of them 2 weeks ago because I wanted to show you what they look like after they've been planted for a little bit. And all I have done here since I planted them is just do the same watering that you would do to establish any new shrub. So let me show you what we have right now. So this is this little entryway. This car is parked in a public parking lot, and here is the entrance to our building, literally steps away from the parking lot. Here you can see that I've got the 5 that I planted last week, and they're all looking really good. In fact, they've already started putting on some new growth, and I think they all have a little bit of new growth on it. Here's a whole nice stem with a nice new bud coming on it. So they're all acclimating really well, and they still look really nice in this area. And I think you can agree this is going to be a really nice look once these fill in a little bit. I didn't want to put anything too far down on the corner because I do know that people will walk there, and they will walk there whether there's a rose in their way or not. But I've left a really nice corner for the final one, and I've already pulled the mulch away so that I can show you how you plant this, which really couldn't be any easier. So if the soil that I'm planting in looks very good, it's because it is. Because while these plants are tough, they are not invincible. Last year when I planted the hydrangea here, I learned that the soil here was absolutely terrible. So I dug out an area to plant the hydrangea in last year and replaced that soil. That was a little bit of taking the easy way out. So this year I actually dug out all the rest of the soil that was there and replaced it entirely with topsoil and compost, because these plants need to have a chance, and no plant will grow in that kind of soil, much less in already difficult conditions. And the nice thing about these roses is it's a total no-brainer. You plant them like any other shrub. Don't worry about burying anything. You just plant them at the same level that they're at in the pot, and that's all you need to do. Now, I will come back and fertilize these with a rose fertilizer in the future, but I'm not worrying about that now, because what we're really just worried about here is establishing these roots to get these plants well established and really nicely settled in throughout this year. She'll enjoy the beautiful color out here as she sits on her nest. Now these plants came to me in flower over a month ago, and you can see that they're still flowering, they're holding their flowers, and they're pushing out new flowers. And this is what they'll do for the rest of the summer. We're gonna have flowers all year on these, which is one of the things that makes this such a really good choice for an area that needs season-long color. Now, because of their diminutive size, these Petite Knockouts are actually going to be really good in a container as well. But I think they're sort of genius planted in mass, like I'm doing here in a landscape. So now some of you might be wondering, what the heck am I doing planting roses, as after I've been removing some roses from my garden this year. And that's because I think of these types of roses as a different thing entirely from the really high maintenance roses that I was growing in my own garden. So these Petite Knockout roses are, to me, like any other shrub. They are a shrub that happens to be a rose, not a rose that happens to be a shrub, if that makes sense. Because there's nothing to this. They're super easy care. They don't require fertilizer once a month. They don't require constant deadheading. They mostly take care of themselves, provided you keep them watered, which is part of the deal here, particularly to get them established. So that's how you end up planting roses in an area that needs a super tough plant. And I think they're going to do just fine here. Now, I'm not going to coddle these for winter. They're not going to get any special treatment. They are going to go into winter well watered and well established. They might get some salt on them just from the sidewalk. There won't be any road salt put on them, and the city will not be plowing onto this area, so there won't be like piles of snow. But I'm not going to do anything to protect these roses. So this is a true test of how tough these are. So subscribe so you don't miss anything, and we'll keep tabs on these and see how they do over winter. I will say I've already gotten several compliments on how they look. People seem to really like them, and I have to tell you, half the time it's when people are getting out of their cars and they say, oh look, there's roses right here. So it's kind of nice when you can bring people a little bit of unexpected joy. So if you want to bring some of these home, head over to knockoutroses.com, where you will find a list of retailers who carry these, so you can bring some of these little fun size, super tough, beautiful little plants straight to your own garden. So a big thank you to Knockout Roses for partnering with me on this video and helping me find the tough plant that's right for a tough spot. All right, have a great day in your garden. We'll see you soon.